Hey guys, I am back and we're finishing the ultimate persona today with our ultimate persona template that you can go get at personatemplate.com, totally free. So if you didn't listen to the last recording, you're really going to want to go through that because we basically went through how to get into the psychology of your ideal prospect and what are some of the things that you can do to really empathize with your ideal prospect, which is going to give you an amazing ability to communicate and attract who you really want to attract to your business. Today, knowing all that stuff is great, right? It's fantastic. But if you don't actually take it out into the world and put the messages where your ideal prospect is so that they know you exist, I'm telling you, the number one, I say the number one about so many things, but one of probably the biggest, most gigantic reasons businesses that are in their growth stage don't make it isn't because they have a bad product or service or service. It's because nobody knows they exist. You know, I always say, like, obscurity is the enemy. You don't want to be unfindable. And so the next part of what we're doing is walking through, so now that you've started to understand who your ideal prospect is, and you've even started to do some research on the internet and found little pockets, now is the time to go further and really find all of the places that your ideal prospect congregates. And it's interesting because, you know, one of the philosophies, and I actually love this, this is a method used by many. I forgot who came up with the original, like, Dream 100. But then Dana Derricks kind of wrote a book about Dream 100. Russell Brunson, if you follow him, talks about the Dream 100. Dean Graziosi, Tony Robbins. And the idea around the Dream 100 is if you could think, there's a couple of ways to think about it, but if you could think about, 100 people, influencers, people that others look to, that have follower groups for answers, who would those 100 be for your business, right? Like, who are the big influencers for your business that, like, man, if I could gain access to all of the people that follow them, I'd be huge. My business would be huge, or whatever that is. So some of what we're going to do now sort of incorporates the idea of Dream 100, which is, it's time to go find your people. Now that you know who your ideal prospect is conceptually, you need to find them physically, like, where literally are there, so that you can present your offer, right? So that's what today is about. So I'm going to share my screen again for those of you that are on the audio only podcast. No worries. I'm going to walk through everything I'm talking about. And I'm going to go really quick on this one. I was a little extra detailed in the last recording, but I'm going to go pretty quick just to give you the idea of the research that you're going to do. Now, this is where you're going to spend a little more time, because this is real homework. So, but trust the process and just fill out your homework. Okay, on go the glasses again. All right. So you know who your ultimate prospect is now. Where are they? So one of the first things I want you to think about is, well, what brands does this prospect follow, or do they admire? Now remember, I'm actually talking about, we're using this company that I have zero affiliation with, Just Food for Dogs. I'm just using them because I became a customer recently, right? If I think about, okay, for other people, if I'm Just Food for Dogs, if it were my company and I was like, gosh, how am I going to go find people to tell, like, you got to try my food. You got to try our dog food. It's going to be so much better for your dog. What might be the brands that my customers, my potential customers, are already following or using? Well, the easy thing would be they're probably following a lot of dog food brands, right? It could be Purina, it could be Iams, it could be Hills, it could be Hills Prescription, it could be Grain Free, or that Blue Buffalo, or whatever it's called. Like, but you're going to want to capture a lot of the brands, because trust me, your customers are in there following them. There's also going to be like, what brands might those people admire? Well, it could even be things like, and this isn't brand so much, but maybe there's a pet hotel in your area. Maybe there's a great dog park in your area. But like what you're starting to think about today and at this stage of developing your persona is, where are my people? And here's an interesting trick that I think is amazing. Think of where your people are that most people aren't, right? Where are your people that most people aren't? For example, if you're talking about a particular dog hotel, well, everyone there has dogs. You're not hanging out at the dog hotel if you've got a cat or a turtle or a fish. You're not hanging out at the dog park. You're not following certain brands. So that's just a little trick to make you get specific, because I don't want you being too general in this area. Who might be the influencers here? Who might people be following? Well, I'm going to be overly obvious here, but maybe it's like Caesar the dog whisperer, I think is what his name is. Caesar Milano, it might be. He's an influencer, right? People watch the show. People do stuff. There might be other big influencers. It could be your vet, right? It could be vet associations. But like, you're going to want to think about, again, you're doing research. You're not making this up. Go on to research and find who are the biggest influencers in the dog world, right? That's what you want to find out. And check everywhere. The other thing you're going to want to do, there's this other great section, is where are you most likely going to reach your target prospect? Is it going to be on email? Is it going to be on WhatsApp? Is it going to be on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, Spotify, all those other things? I want you to think through all the channels where you're most likely to read them. Like, so the funny thing is I actually follow, because when I post pictures of my dogs, which I do occasionally, like, there are so many hashtags to follow on Instagram. So I always hashtag mine like dogs of Instagram, because I'm trying to get them featured. But that's a hashtag, right? So Instagram is a great place where dog lovers are as well. What are the Facebooks and groups that your target prospect might be a part of? It might be a community dog park group on Facebook. It could be that they're following a particular page that does pet training, or dog obedience on Facebook. But go through Facebook and find all the things that are relevant. Then go and find all the blogs that they might be reading that are relevant. Now, remember, if you remember from yesterday, Rufus, the dog we're talking about, who's part of our persona, has tummy issues. So there might be very specific forums and blogs that people follow when you're trying to figure out like how to make your dog better. So go and find those online. What are the YouTube channels, or YouTube videos that people might be following? I talked about this a minute ago, but like, what are the keywords and hashtags that people are going to look for, right? So you're going to want to look on Instagram for hashtags. You're going to want to look on Twitter for hashtags. You're going to want to think like, what are the keywords that people are typing into the internet to try to figure out their problem, right? So I can be, I'm not going to go through all the trouble of describing some of the keywords I had to enter into Google to try to figure out what was going on with my dog and his poop. But poop was one of the keywords. And then the other thing is, you can also target people by topics and behaviors. This is really specific to really all of the social media platforms, but Facebook in particular. If you're trying to find people who are very specifically on mobile, right? Or they belong to some group, or they have let's say if I was going after pet hotels, that they're business owners, they have Facebook pages and stuff. There's some topics and behaviors that you can put in. This is just a part of doing your research. And then the other thing, I'm going to give you a bonus one that's not even here on the Ultimate Persona. If you're listening to this, you're going to get a bonus one. But the other thing I want you to do before then is think about their purchase journey. What's going on when they realize they have a problem, right? It's probably something that they had to scoop up. They're like, oh my God, if it's this particular persona, right? Like, oops, we have a problem, right? Then what happens? What are they doing next? I have a problem. They're probably going to the internet and conducting a search. Then they might be reading certain articles. Then they might be like calling their vet. But I want you to go through every single thing, right? So problem recognition, they're going to have one set of behaviors. Search for answers. They're going to be looking in all of these different places for search. Your job is to try to go find, you need to be empathetic with your prospect and go like, if I had this problem, how am I going to try to solve this? And go on the internet, solve it the way they would, call a vet, whatever that's going to be. Then how are they going to evaluate what the best answer is? They're going to get a lot of information in their search, and now they've got to try to make sense of it. What are going to be the parameters by which they evaluate that? And what's going to help them get to their final selection? Are they going to be comparing one thing to another? But I want you to go through that entire journey so that you can be completely empathetic with your prospect. Now, here's the bonus thing that I do, because I think it's just really interesting. But it's a total cheat, but a lot of people just don't know this. Go to Amazon. Did you know Amazon, if I have this correctly, I think Amazon is the 3rd largest search engine on the planet after Google and YouTube, right? I mean, Amazon. So type in the problem to Amazon as if you were typing it in to Google, a couple of keywords, and see all the books that show up, right? Now, what's going to be really interesting is I want you, the ones that have the best titles, you just bookmark them or put them in your cart. You're going to use them later in your targeting, but I want you to notice all the great headlines and how they are talking about they solve the problem. Books have to have great titles to sell, especially on Amazon. And so all of those titles are really going to help you kind of when you get into your messaging strategy, which is a whole nother exercise. But the other thing that is awesome on Amazon is you can read the reviews. And in the reviews is also going to be a bunch of other great anecdotal real life data that you can get, where people are talking about exactly what problem they had, why this book was good, the detailed information it gave them. And you are now getting this is like you doing focus groups at scale, getting so much customer intel that you really can't do any other way. And it's free. I love free. So that's the second part. The second part is all about you going and finding all of those constituencies, congregations of your ideal prospect. And now you have a complete picture of your ideal prospect. Who's going to be your customer hero or your client hero? And now that you've looked at all of this stuff, you've also even got an idea of like, wow, this is the problem they're trying to solve. Whatever ranks highest on Amazon is the problem that people are trying to solve. Trust me. Right? So you're going to look, oh, this is how they're looking at that problem. You're going to go and read the reviews and see like, this is what people are saying about that problem. You're going to get so much messaging firepower just by doing your research. And it's why I'm like, beating a dead horse when people are like, oh, blah, 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 I can't figure this out. I'm like, well, did you do your persona or your avatar? Did you do a good one? And that's why I came up with this ultimate persona, because I think that I tried to crunch all of the stuff that I do in the background with my clients. I tried to crunch it all down into one tool. So you can do it too. Anyway, so go get it. It's free at personatemplate.com. And I hope you enjoy it. And so that brings us to the conclusion of talking about the persona. I will continue to talk about it in other forums because I can't stop. It's like, if you think about marketing, I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were just having this philosophical conversation about marketing. And I was like, what's so interesting is you can, out of everything that you do, all the steps, right? Marketing has a bunch of steps. You have to know who your customer is. You have to know what their needs are. Have to know what their customer journey is. You need to align that to your value proposition. They have to fit really, really well. But then you also have to figure out what are your company's specific key messages. Where are you going to put those messages? Which part of the funnel is important for you in your growth stage right now? Which marketing channels are going to use? And then you've got to go build your messages, build your site, build your funnels, build whatever you have to do. And then you have to go and place advertising usually to direct traffic at it. That's a lot of stuff, right? Here's the secret. You can if you do all of that stuff well, except the customer persona, you will probably be doing about 20% of the whole job. But if you do the customer persona and almost nothing else, you'll be doing about 80% of what you need to do to be successful. Because you'll mentally understand what you need to do, and that's going to drive your execution. So this is so ridiculously important. I hope you take me up on my offer for the free template. I can't imagine why you wouldn't. It's really good. I use it every day in my practice, and all of my clients do too. So that's it. See you next time, and happy marketing. Go serve your hero. Get to know them with this template. See you next time.